Hi, welcome back to Crime, Mystery, and Mayhem. Today I want to talk about Al Capone. Al Capone dominated Chicago from 1925 to 1931. In the 20s, he was named the most famous gangsters in the United States of America. Al Capone was the fourth child of nine siblings. At age 14, in the sixth grade, he was kicked out of school for punching his teacher in the face. Not so eager to return back to school, he joined the Junior 40 Thieves and the Bounty Boys gang. After building a reputation for himself, he went to join the most notorious gang in lower Manhattan, and that would be the Five Points Gang. In 1917, Frankie Yale hired Al Capone to be a bartender and a bouncer in his bar. Frankie Yale was a bootlegger, and back then, lots of businesses paid him for protection against other businesses. See, back then, they were in so much competition to the point where you had to hire like bodyguards or like someone to protect you and your businesses because like people would be watching you from afar, like, oh, he or she is doing too well. Let's kill him, you know? So basically, yeah, they hired Frankie Yale to protect them against other business owners and other crime bosses. In 1917, Frankie was the man at the time, so Al really wanted to be like him. Like, he wanted to dress like him, he wanted to run a business like him, all of that good stuff. So he paid attention. Frankie was like his mentor, more like a father figure. One day, while Al Capone is at work, a beautiful woman come walking through the door and catches his eye. He began to make derogatory remarks about the woman's behind, and her brother heard him saying these things. So he walked up, asked him, Yo, why are you talking to my sister like this? And I guess Capone thought it was okay, and the dude sliced him across his face, and that's why we call him Scarface. After the incident at the bar where he got his face slashed at for being a pervert, everyone would ask him, What happened to your face? What happened to your face? He would tell people like lies like, I was in the war or I got into an accident, everything but the truth. He didn't want people to know what happened to him for some reason. Or maybe his reason for not wanting anyone to know would be because he wanted to seek revenge on the guy who slit his face. Yeah, so he wanted to get revenge, but he found out that that would be against the rules because the guy who slit his face was also working with the people that he was working with, and it's against the rule to go against family. So Al Capone thought about it. He thought long and hard and was like, wait a minute, I did disrespect his sister, so I kind of deserve that shit. Forced to reconcile and put their differences aside, Al Capone went on to marry his then longtime girlfriend, May. Soon after, they gave birth to a beautiful, bouncing baby boy named Sonny. After the birth of his son, Johnny Torrio, another head kingpin, also one of Al Capone's bosses, asked him if he would move to Chicago, the Windy City, to help build their business. Al didn't decline. He jumped on it like super fast because he looked at this as an opportunity to be able to provide for his family, the way he always wanted. And moving to Chicago, I guess they'll be able to get bigger clientele. In 1919, they were settled in Chicago, making a name for themselves. Al then started working at a brothel where he contracted syphilis from a prostitute. Al, he really thought he was untouchable. They tried to provide him with medication to help cure it, and he just refused. Like, he was just like, I'll take the syphilis, please. He thought he was so unstoppable to the point where in the 1920s, like, this is when alcohol was like illegal because husbands were literally going upside of their wives and their children's head, you know, leaving the bar, from getting messed up and coming home and, yeah, taking it out on their families. So yeah, back then there were a lot of protesters, especially women, because those women, they were not having it. They're like, we tired of our husbands coming home jacking us up. Like, like we tired of them pissing on themselves when they sleep. But Al Capone and his gang, they were not having it. They didn't care about those protesters. They didn't care about those wives or those children. All they cared about was those Benjamins. So back then, Al Capone, they had like police on their payroll, judges, they had mayors, they had like so many different hookups to the point where it's like you call the police on Al Capone or someone affiliated with him, the police will probably let Al Capone know, and his people will come over there and come do you while you on the phone waiting on the secretary to come back. hmm The alcohol was his cash flow, and he was not going to let anyone, not even some battered wives, come in between that. In 1923, Al purchased a small house and started telling people that he was a boxing promoter. This was to cover up all the illegal activities that he was invested in. But wasn't nobody stupid. Everybody knew. I mean, come on now. I bet he's never been in a boxing ring a day in his life. Come on. That's that's bullshit. He started making so much money to the point where he was making charitable donations to like different organizations and children's funds and feed the homeless and the needy. So people, it's like even though they knew he was like a kingpin, they didn't care because he was like looking out for the community. Then him and all of his friends, they got so greedy to the point where if all the other businesses would not, coexist with them, they would like literally blow their buildings up, go inside of their homes when they were asleep at night, break the window and or pick a lock or something, and go inside and beat the family up. Sometimes they would even take multiple people down in like the mobster's basement. They had like a private mobster basement where they will like literally hold people there against their will. It's really sad because no one did anything about this because everyone was terrified. Everyone was terrified of them. When it was time for people to go out to the elections and vote, Al Capone and his boys will rally up to see who was voting for who. And if they did not agree with who the people were voting for, they would like put guns up to their head. And if the people still refused or like called the police or did anything, they would like terrorize them. And it's sad because these are humans, not animals. When the judge found out about this, he issued for 70 cops to go out to the location where these people were being held hostage. And they were not expecting a gunfight. But Al Capone and Al Capone's brother and another one of their friends, yeah, they went to war with the police. Unfortunately, Al Capone's brother was gunned down. Al was very hurt by his brother's death. He gave his brother like a beautiful funeral, and it was said that some of the police who was there that day of the shootout was attending his brother's funeral, but they didn't say or do anything because they had nothing to approach Al with. People began to grow tired and just eager to get away from Al Capone and his men to the point where they wanted him dead. They started putting hits out on him. One day Al came out of his home to come and go get in his car, and his driver was found in the front seat dead in the car. Now, that's really close to home. But none of that impressed Al. He just kept going, kept making more money, making more moves, making more plays. Eventually, Al grew tired of the hits out because by then, who can you trust? If someone's got a hit out on you, it's possible that someone in your circle might get you. So, with that being said, Al was like, forget that. I'm just going to make peace treaties with everybody. That way, we can all come together, put this nonsense to the side, and just get money together. And they agreed. Then, in 1929, Al was arrested for carrying a concealed weapon. And yes, at that time or any time, if he was carrying a concealed weapon, he's been doing all these crimes and stuff, you would think that that would be enough for them to convict him and give him some type of prison time. But no, everyone was afraid of him. So they wasn't about to send him nowhere. They just sent him home. Like, he literally kept getting arrested for things like really serious things, enough to go away for a very long time for, but they were not putting him away. So that's when one day Mabel Walker, an assistant attorney general, she just got fed up. She sat down with her, workers, and she's just like, we need to try to think of a game plan to get him like underneath the jail. Throw away the key. Then she gets this bright idea where, hold on, all of this illegal money that they're making, there's no possible way that they are paying their taxes. And she was right. No, they wasn't. It's just so messed up that all of the things that he's done, tax evasion was actually the straw that broke the camel's back with Al. Like all the other things that he could have been put away for, like more serious crimes, like the murders, hello, the kidnappings. So then in 1931, Al Capone was sentenced to 11 years for 3 counts of tax evasion. Then in 1934, they sent him to the newly built prison Alcatraz, where his cell room number was 181. One day while he was doing his laundry, just minding his business, probably singing songs in his head or whatever, because remember, he had syphilis. So by then, the syphilis is like deteriorating his brain. So there's no telling what was going on through his mind. But behind him was another inmate. Another inmate had actually stole a pair of sharp scissors from the barber area in the prison and stabbed Al Capone in his back while he was doing his laundry. This incident did not kill Al, but it did leave him like hurt. He was really hurt by this. Sorry to say that eventually the syphilis ended up going to his brain where it ended up leaving him in the mental state of like a 12-year-old or maybe a 9-year-old or something. But he wasn't the same Al he used to be. He would be very confused or not knowing where he was, or kind of, showing signs of like dementia. Because of his mental state, his wife got his sentence appealed. She then contacted the John Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore to see if they could help her husband, if he can stay there, I guess until he died. But they refused because they know Al Capone and they didn't want to be affiliated with anyone who was affiliated with Al Capone. I mean, I don't blame them. After being turned down, she contacted Union Memorial Hospital. A little time after his stay there at the hospital, Al began to develop paracesis of the brain. It's a late form of syphilis. So by then, his illness was too far into existence where getting treatment would basically be unnecessary. So May, Al's wife, she decided to just take him home. But before they left, they donated two cherry trees to the hospital. In 1940, he returned to his home in Palm Island. There, he was giving the, the drug penicillin to help him kind of work through the pain as he was leaving this earth because they already knew he was going to die. I'm not even for sure if he knew that he was going to die, being what type of mental state that he was in, but I guess the penicillin kind of eased the pain a little of it all. You had a chance to go and get medicine so long ago, but because you thought you were invincible, this is your demise. It's so unfortunate. In 1947, Al Capone died of heart failure. His wife gave him a private funeral back in his hometown, Chicago. It's it's sad because I feel sad for the wife because it's like I wonder if she knew all that stuff that her husband was into. It's like, how could you be with someone for all that time and see all this chaos happening around you and you not know? Or maybe she was just hoping that one day he would stop. I mean, she really loved him through it all, like even through his illness. Like I'm not even for sure if she ever contracted syphilis, but who cares? At the end of the day, she wrote for her husband. Even after Al Capone's death, his name rang infamously throughout the United States of America, giving him the name Public Enemy Number One. But in closing, guns don't kill people, people kill people, and that's facts. So if you're new to my channel, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next Thursday. Bye.